Thank you. Thank you. All right. I'm a scientist. I got 18 minutes and 14 seconds to show you what we learned. So here we go, the jet engine. Okay. The first thing we knew when we started was, yes, antioxidants were important. There are today over 250,000 papers published on antioxidants in the scientific literature. And among the top foods that we have are things like blueberries, blackberries. We've even been studying many of the berries in Canada, especially up in some of the Arctic regions, because they're placed under tremendous stress. And as a result, they have to develop chemical defenses to survive. And they can pass that on. And that's why if it's between you and a bear, and the bear wants those berries, you are not going to get those berries. Okay? There's a reason why. But the trouble is the season's short. The amount of the material is very limited. And there's tremendous variability in the antioxidant activities based on research we've been doing. But the U.S. Department of Agriculture did develop and publish a list starting in 2004 of all of the top foods in terms of antioxidant capacity against the peroxyl free radical. That is the most predominant free radical in the human body. And what we discovered when we got acai was it blew it off the charts. In fact, I'll never forget my day. You've heard it on my tape. You've seen it before. I love describing it because it was one of those moments that every scientist in their life dreams of. It's that call from the laboratory where, Alex, are you sitting down in your chair? I just sent you an email. Open up your attachment. Yep, I see it. I click it open. He says, look at what we found with this purple powder you sent us. We're all dying to know, what is it that you sent us? Because they were given this blindly. And they wondered, did you put an extract in there? Did you sprinkle lots of some kind of a chemical in there? I said, no, it's a fruit that I've been studying for some time. And they said only one thing, because it took 2.5 computer screens to the right for that line to go across. And of course, my immediate response was, well, that can't be right. That was a laboratory error. Alex, we knew you were going to say that. We've redone that 6 times. So at our expense. And I said, no kidding. Okay. And then after that, they said, Alex, we have only one request, okay? And I said, what's that? And they said, would you please be sure to put our name on the paper when you publish this? Now, when scientists, and this guy is world famous in antioxidant research, he was the head of the lab who called, I knew there was something very exciting here. If he's willing to put his name on the paper. In other words, he's willing to stake his reputation that this is true. But I'm a scientist, and science is about replication. It's about the ability to replicate the results, okay? Could someone else see the same thing in another laboratory who's also qualified to do the work? And so we sent it to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Agriculture Research Services, because they're the world leaders in studying antioxidants in foods. And then I got a hold of Dr. Charlene Wu and Dr. Ron Pryor. Dr. Ron Pryor was the co-inventor of the Oxygen Radical Absorbance Capacity Assay, or ORAC assay. And I asked them, I'm going to send you some powder. They didn't know about the Boston results from Brunswick Lab. And they went ahead and they called me up and they said the same thing. Alex, can you be sure when you publish your results that our name's on your paper? Because they had never seen anything this strong. And of course, then they got excited and they started asking questions. And I said, gentlemen, I don't have a lot of answers right now, but I know we have something extraordinary here that's worth studying. And I could tell as I went from the University of California and different institutions that everybody started to say, Alex, you've got to keep studying this. There's something here that could be of profound value to human health. And that you're going to see probably published next year from these NIH papers. By the way, I am one of the co-authors of that paper that is going to be published. Okay. All right. Now, another thing, too, and probably why nobody else had discovered this. You see, it's much less expensive to spray dry it. Spray drying is just to shoot it in the air. It's done with heat, and then you expose it to oxygen. And you sort of throw it in the air, and it's sort of the the water content evaporates. That's a basic way of describing it. But when you spray dry it or sun dry it or use other methods, the antioxidant activity is very, very low. So there's nothing to catch your attention. It's when you lock it in, because in freeze drying we do it in a vacuum. And the reason why, again, knowledge is power, is because in fruits, particularly in the tropic, you have to degrade them very quickly. You have no idea how much is falling down on the ground in the equator, that area, every single moment, and day and night. And as a result, it would just pile up and go right out of the atmosphere. If there wasn't some mechanism for breaking things down quickly, we call those oxidases. They're enzymes that rely on oxygen to break down. And what we're doing is, in a vacuum, we're locking that in without oxygen, so the oxidases can't get stimulated, so we've preserved all that antioxidant activity. Do you follow? That's in your bottle. You see all that good stuff. Okay. So we can now compare all of these, foods. I mean, the good foods, these blackberries and blueberries and cranberries and all of those things, and we can compare them for moisture content so that we have a fair comparison. We can then look at the total antioxidant capacity and then the serving size, so we have fair comparisons. And what you will see, compared to any food, acai pulp is like way out there compared to anything, 5-6 times greater. Okay. Another thing that we have is that when we're looking at its antioxidant capacity, there are different free radicals in the human body. One of these is really bad. Okay, really, really bad. I mean, this is like a toxic free radical. And when you talk about diseases and things like that, it's always there. There's a lot of this being produced every waking second. And that is the hydroxyl radical. Now, you can stop the hydroxyl radical by finding a food that is rich in scavenging or binding it up or stopping those chain reactions to occur. But the smarter way would be to prevent it from even forming. And the way you do that is you find who is the mother, who produces this nasty thing. And that happens to be the superoxide free radical. And we call it the mother free radical in science. It's a nasty little mama producing the hydroxyl radical. Okay? Now, if we could stop it, that could have profound effect on human health for a huge range of conditions and diseases. So what we thought we would do is look at, can it stop the superoxide free radical scavenging capacity? And by God, I had the same thing happen again. And I say thank you to God, because you have to say thank you to God, by the way. It isn't just about science, okay? I got my results, and I knew at that time that an absolutely delicious, wonderful product, this wheatgrass juice that all of us love to drink, okay, had the highest superoxide free radical scavenging capacity, about 140 to 200 SOD units. Okay, that's superoxide dismutase units. Look complicated, not important. When I got back the results from the laboratory, it was the same thing. Alex, are you sitting in your chair? The result was 1,614 units. It just blew everything out of the water. And suddenly I realized this is something huge, because it could actually stop the production of excessive hydroxyl radical production, and that could have important implications, especially in inflammation. And I just attended the Berry Health Conference of 2009. Brought scientists from all over the world, from government agencies, all the people that are publishing all these papers. And there at that meeting was research that is showing now that inflammation is involved in probably every disease that afflicts human beings. So if we have a superoxide scavenging capacity that can reduce the inflammation, and once you reduce inflammation, the body can start healing itself. Those natural processes which are within our body to fix us up and keep us healthy can be actualized and realized. Are you following? Okay. And lastly, at the University of California, Irvine School of Medicine, the professor of medicine there asked us, when they saw a poster that I had on acai research at the Federation of American Society's Experimental Biology meeting, He said, Alex, is there a chance I can get some of this stuff and study it in my laboratory? Because we're doing total antioxidant assay, capacity assays, and we are looking for things that have certain properties. I said, sure. I sent him some samples. And again, I got that same response. Alex, are you ready for this? The first time we've ever found any antioxidant that actually in a food acts slowly and acts fast. We've never seen that before, and be sure to put my name on the paper when you publish these results. Okay. That pattern. I love that pattern. Now, we did nutritional research. We want to understand its nutritional composition. Again, a surprise. Used different laboratories. We published all this work. It's got all the vitamins, all the minerals and trace elements that are important to human health, except it does not have a vitamin K or what we call methaquinone or phyloquinone. Phyloquinone is found in plants, methaquinone in other sources like wheats and eggs and fish. But no phyloquinone, which was important too because it explained why people who had problems with certain drugs where they have to watch out for clotting and watch out for blood thinning, that they were able to consume the acai. So this was a real surprise as well. Next, we looked at amino acids because proteins are extremely important. We build our bodies all the time with proteins, every cell. Do you realize that in 1 minute you lose 60 billion cells? 60 billion cells are lost per minute. Okay, so 60 million cells are lost per minute, 60 billion per day. You would literally replace your body's weight in cells every single year. So we are constantly rebuilding our body. Do you understand the importance of that message? It means that if you're taking a product like MonaV and it has compounds which may be able to help you and arrest some of the free radicals and the free radical damage that those free radicals can cause, that it's conceivable you can literally rebuild your body in a year by constantly nourishing it nutritionally. And that's why I think, and that goes back to our 1995 paper that we looked at on that energy, because people in the Amazon said, when I stop drinking it, I can feel the effect. I'm not up to par. When I'm back on my acai, I'm feeling stronger. But remember, they're getting the fresh juice. They can pick it in their backyard. You know, we don't have that luxury. And it degrades so fast that if in 24 hours you had that pulp in a laboratory in Boston, it's mush, it's useless. We can't even study it. So we have got to do, and we had to develop that freeze-drying understanding right there in the Amazon. That's why nobody knew what acai was in any market in the world, because it's not in any supermarket. You can't put acai fruit in a supermarket. It would be mush. It would be molded by the time it would be there. And mold would get there so quickly. Why? Why would mold? Mold would come in there so quickly. Why? Because it knows this is full of nutrition, the good stuff. So it would grow so fast on it, it would never survive in any market as a fresh fruit. So he looks at the challenges. Do you understand again? Why? When people say, well, how come I can't buy it, or I don't know about this product? Because only people in the Amazon can benefit from it. And after that, they have to understand the technology of preserving all of the characteristics and properties of the fruit and being able to put it into this bottle. And that's what MonaV has been able to do for you. Okay? I'm a great fan of blueberries. I grow them. In fact, I put more blueberry plants on my property in my home in Tacoma. And what I love about blueberries is I love them. They taste good. You know, they're rich in antioxidants. They got phytochemicals, flavonoids, and all that. But when you compare it on a gram-for-gram basis for nutrient composition, there's no comparison to acai. Okay. Now, another thing, phytochemical composition. There are all kinds of chemicals in there. And what we have been doing right now, we've been isolating, characterizing these using extremely expensive technology, nuclear magnetic resonance, mass spec stuff. And what we're doing that for is we're trying to find out what are the compounds in acai that are responsible for all these health benefits. That research is going on right now, and that is very exciting as well. We have all of the other good things about acai. Again, there has not been a shoe that has dropped in the research to date. We know it's rich in fiber, both the soluble and insoluble fiber. To me, very important. I've studied fiber a lot. I've been doing fiber research for many years because the insoluble fraction of the fiber, okay, that's the stuff that passes right through you. You just really, really break up. But you hear it's good for you because it helps bulk the fecal material so that you can, you know, pass every single day and have a healthy digestive system, right? The insoluble fiber is what captures and holds actually the polyphenols, those antioxidant compounds. And what other companies are doing, because they want to have, clear apple juice or clear cranberry juice or whatever, that's the way people like it, they know that if you put this product on a retail shelf, because of all the sediment, this fiber that it has in it, people won't buy it because there'll be a bunch of this stuff sitting in the bottom, and even worse, there's a bunch of oil on the top. Okay? Who would buy a bottle off a shelf like that? Nobody would ever get it. That's why when Dallin told me, Alex, understand what the opportunity business is all about. It's a way for one person to explain things to another person that would never occur in a retail shop. Whatever you do, think about what you're doing. You've got some great research here on this incredible berry that nobody ever heard of. But we need to have a mechanism to get it out, that information to people, and network marketing is the perfect way to do that. Okay? So, I understood suddenly where he was coming from, plus his commitment to science. Yes, MonaV was the place to put it, and look what's happened. I mean, this is fantastic in 4.5 years where this company is today. But do you know what's the most important thing? You're helping a lot of people. That's the most important thing. So very simply, as you probably read by now, it's low in sodium, which is good. Sucrose is low, carbohydrates are low, and etc. We now know that fiber is important. There's been great human pharmacokinetic study done by Texas A&M, University of Florida, University of Tennessee, and this has all been shown, and it's showing again and again, do not clarify, do not filter this material, leave it alone, leave it the way nature intended it, and that's exactly what MonaV is doing. And I thank Jeff Graham in particular, because Jeff and I have worked. He's the product development vice president for MonaV, and Jeff has always cared about quality. He'll call and say, Alex, if we do this to the acai or to this product, how will it in any way compromise things? And he cares about that, and I really appreciate working with Jeff for that reason. Now, another thing is with leukotrienes, we've been finding out that it lowers the leukotriene levels. And we know this is profoundly affected because leukotriene plays a major role in numerous pathological conditions. And as a result, we know it increases the destruction of these free radicals. So again, good stuff home. So the take-home message is acai has high superoxide scavenging capacity. That explains how it reduces inflammation. So we're getting closer and closer to fully understanding the mechanism of how it works. Now, we asked two questions. Does MonaV juice, what you're selling to people, does it really make a difference in healthy adults? Are the antioxidants in MonaV absorbed? Do they actually enter into circulation? Do they get into cells? Do they protect cells during oxidative stress? So before we do these studies, we have to know the product is safe. And I want you to again understand, most companies don't do safety studies. They just say, hey, it's a food, why do we have to do any research? But MonaV has really been committed to doing science on its products, just to show you many of the studies. And I'm also pleased to announce, because we just got the results from the laboratory, we've just finished a study in where we looked at the equivalent of people taking far more bottles than you could ever consume every single day. And we looked at that in terms of 1.5 years of chronic subacute intake, and we have found 0 negative results. 0. 0. That combined with experimental scientific research which has shown no mitogenicity, no mutagenicity, no cytotoxicity, no clastrogenicity, and no toxicity of MonaV juice, that you have a product that is safe. And this will allow us, that evidence, to go into institutional review boards for human experimentation, show them this product has minimal to 0 risk for subjects regardless of the conditions they have, and that we can then go ahead and do good clinical trials on that, as we are already doing. So the safety studies are really important, and we'll be publishing all of this. Very quickly, because I've got to get off the stage, and I want to do this quickly. We have done human trials. We started with an open label trial. We found that within an hour, in 80% of the people, it raised antioxidant levels, but within 2 hours, it raised it for everybody. We found out that 4 ounces of this juice not only increased antioxidant levels, but it also inhibited lipid peroxidation, which is involved in so much of the cardiovascular disease that we have. And then we did a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled crossover study, which has also been published in 2008, and we saw the same thing there. The results were profound. Again, these are the kind of convincing pieces of evidence that groups like the National Institutes of Health like to see. Good, solid science published in good peer-reviewed journals. Okay, so now that we have those, we did a range of motion study. In the range of motion study, we're simply taking people from 44 to 84 years old who have limited range of motion for a lot of reasons. Some of them, for example, have osteoarthritis. And we just simply said to these volunteers, would you like to drink this juice every single day, as directed on the label, twice a day? And could we monitor what would happen? We did this trial. These results were published in May in Alternative Therapies. So what's what we're looking for, you know, can we improve it? This is my lay version. And what we saw, at first pain went up because people's range of motion improved, so they started doing more things. They started grabbing, let's say, weeds in the yard they'd never touched before. They reached for things in the cupboard they had been afraid to touch because it would hurt their shoulder or their back or their knee or something. And within the end of the study in 12 weeks, the entire group's range of motion had improved statistically significant at a p.001 level. So we knew this wasn't just due to chance, and pain had gone down too. So, of course, all of them said, I don't know what we've been drinking, but can we get more of this? So this is very exciting. So there are those results. We've studied Pulse as well. Pulse has turned out to be a very exciting product as well. What's really interesting with Pulse is that we have things which we have to study in humans called their genetic type or genotype. And that is certain people are much greater risk of cardiovascular disease than others. So we're very, very interested in understanding what this is all about. And so in this study, what we did, and remember, these are all independent studies. We commission them. We don't control them. We let the scientists do the work. They give us the results. We don't control the publication. If it's negative, they'll publish it. Positive, they'll publish it. We don't try to do anything in that area. And what happened next was that we found that Pulse actually reduced the risk of cardiovascular markers associated with those high-risk groups. And I know you don't, when you get a blood test, have your doctor do phenotype testing. You probably should, because you could be at high, moderate, or low risk. But many people are at moderate and high risk, and that is probably why we're hearing from people who are saying, boy, after a month or two, my cholesterol levels are coming down, my other cardiovascular markers, my fibrinolytic activities improved, all of these good things on Pulse as well. So the results of the Pulse study we published. Those were done in May. We have a second paper. The manuscript is now nearly finished. We're presenting that to another peer-reviewed journal to get into more details on the impact of this study. There's also been studies that have been done on coronary arteries that show acai protects them. This was done at Indiana University. I want to acknowledge that I don't do this by myself. I do this with lots of other researchers and scientists at many institutions. This is just a few of them that I can put on to one slide. You can see some of the institutions listed. You see the people that do the work. They are a great group of people. All of you probably would like to have the research, these published papers. This is the address you can go to. If you go to that URL, it'll take you right to all of these research papers. You can download them. We've made arrangements with all of these prominent journals that these papers can be printed for free, because in the past you would have to pay $30 per copy to get these. These are free. There is no charge, so you do not violate copyright protection concerns, okay? Take those, put them in your binder, take them to your meeting, show it to people who want to see the science. And I've written a book. You have it here. This was revised this year. You have this book available here. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have. I love hearing from people. Tell me the good, the bad. I love understanding the experiences you and your consumers, your distributors are having with this product. It really helps us in research to know the areas that we want to study most, because we want to do what you're doing, which is to help people. And again, I say thank you to Mona V. Thank you to Dallin Larson. Thank you to your team, your founders, to Henry, to Randy, Jeff Graham. Thank you very much. And lastly, thank you to all of you. You make the difference. Thank you. Thank you.